traders, welcome out to your currency recap. It's April 21st. Corey here with you. We're always going to go through meaningful news. There was plenty of that today. Trump versus Powell. We're going to talk about what sectors, what areas of the market are heating up and slowing down. And then we're going to highlight our very best ideas. And of course, our focus is on currencies, crypto and Forex currency pairs.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
So as we've been seeing, there continues to be news coming out of the White House, and that hasn't changed any. Markets are falling as President Trump rips Fed Chair Powell, saying that interest rates should have already been cut, that inflation is non-existent, and just really wanting the Fed to accommodate and ease on monetary policy. U.S. dollar at a 3-year low. The markets see this as a threat. They see this as something that can create turmoil. If Trump tries to oust Powell, I would imagine the markets will get hit on that. So we're in this kind of back and forth where it's not just the U.S. versus other countries on tariffs. Now we're also maybe fighting inward with Fed Chair Powell and Trump at odds. As we look at today's price action, the U.S. dollar sharply lower, Canadian dollar sharply lower. So it was a North American free fall, and the U.S. dollar has now hit multi-year lows. It's really been a tumultuous time. Nothing really advancing too strongly. Kiwi, euro, there's a few that are bouncing a little. Gold was the outperformer today, up 3%. Crypto slightly higher, but equities got hammered, down 2.5% to 3% across most indexes. NASDAQ and so forth hit pretty hard. Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash with a slight move up. Ethereum and Litecoin actually weaker. And as we've been saying, look, the markets are in a bear market. We're in a downtrend. As we score the market, we say, well, we're below moving averages. Those moving averages are sloping downward. Don't be surprised if we continue to make lower highs and lower lows. I thought that we might poke our head up above here. You know, I said the markets can be kind of crafty, and it wouldn't shock if we kind of push up against this and then spring lower. But the most important part is that we were going lower, that don't be caught off guard. Even if the market kind of pushes against that level, it's still very, very likely to come back down to these lows and eventually take out those lows because the bear market is fully intact. So it didn't do the little head fake that I laid out, but ultimately what's most important is it did roll over and it's selling off, and we continue to be in this bearish market environment. Now, as we look at what's on tap, not great news that it's a lot of PMI data. PMIs that come in below 50, and you can see how many are below 50. Are a recessionary number. They're a contracting number. So out of the PMIs, almost all of them are projected to be below 50. We only have services in Europe, services in the UK, and services in the US above that. All the manufacturing numbers well below 50. And even the ones that are, they're kind of borderline. So in the U.S. on Wednesday, we're going to get some manufacturing and services PMI. As has been the trend, we have done well on services. We've done very poorly on manufacturing PMIs, and that's expected to continue. Later on this week, you can see that in Canada, there's some retail sales numbers out on Friday, but pretty light week as far as news and data that way. Now, as we look at currencies, here's how we have their velocity scores. You'll note that anything in the 1s to 0 range, we're not really that interested in trading. So we're lacking anything with upward push. There's really nothing that has a strong upside. There's a couple of bearish candidates, US dollar and Canadian dollar being the more obvious candidates. So The question is, well, what do we pair it with? What do we buy against the US dollar or against the CAD? And, maybe it's the Japanese yen, the euro. I would look at this group of plus ones and just see if you can find a currency pair that starts to break out here to the upside that you can pair against one of those bearish candidates. Let's look at a couple of those charts and see why that velocity score is weak. If we take US dollar, you're on a sell signal, downward sloping, downward trending RSIs. You can see a little bounce here on the 4-hour chart, but very likely that we just continue to press to the downside. One of the key points in trading is to figure out where the pain is. And the pain right now is on US dollar longs. Anyone that's long US dollars in any capacity is feeling the pain, feeling the squeeze, and ultimately how that generally finishes is with a flurry. So the US dollar will bottom, but it will probably bottom after a pretty violent finishing move. Big move down, big, huge candlestick down here, something along those lines where you can see that the pain just became too much and they threw in the towel. So look for some sort of capitulation, a complete exhaustion where the buyers just hit their sells and just say, get me out of this pain. That will be the end of this US dollar run to the downside. But until that point, and until we get a big exhaustion lower, I would continue to press those US dollar shorts. Another candidate is Canadian dollar. This one hasn't been extended as long, but recent breakdown still looks good for shorting. Downward, sell signal, downward sloping, downward trending. Canadian dollar also still looks like it's going to challenge lower prices. So if you're looking to trade, we've got the bearish candidates. We just need to find something to stack up against it in terms of trading. We're going to continue to see Trump versus Powell and have news that way. There's no question that Trump is not going to stop ripping Jerome Powell and his policies at the Fed. So be prepared for some of that news, and it could escalate. We'll continue to have tariff news incoming. There's been a delay on implementation for a lot of countries, but that deadline will approach and there will be more turmoil and things around that. So continue to be on guard that way. For those of you that are joining us, we're going to be live in Las Vegas for our annual summit. So we look forward to seeing so many of you. If you're not going to be able to be there this year, we'll miss you and hope you can join us next year. But for those that will be there, we'll see you in a couple of days. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great week and we'll see you next time.